Hello everyone, and thanks for tuning in to Moose Motion Live. Obviously, things are set up a little different today. I'm using a webcam instead of, well, my cell phone, obviously. And I have a little co-host for us at the beginning here, my little Miss Foo-Foo. So, what we'll be working on today is essentially our Godzilla still here, and I'm going to be continuing our project, hopefully getting this thing nearly finished at this point, I'm hoping. There isn't too many things left to do. I'm going to be starting off with a lot of off-camera work that you normally won't see in most of my normal content videos. So we're going to bulk them up a little bit, especially along the sides here and stuff. So I'll be filming as well as being live. So it'll be an interesting combination. And we got some people here in the chat. So, hey, Mr. Zilla. I recognize you from the last one. And Claymation Zilla. I'm glad you could join us this time. Hey, guys. Thanks for coming in. So, yeah. So we are going to basically continue with our project here. And if you have any questions about stop motion or various other Godzilla projects that I've worked on in the past year, feel free to ask, because yeah, it's a lot of fun. I honestly enjoyed the last live stream quite a lot because it was really interesting to be able to actually interact with you guys one-on-one and answer a lot of your questions that you would have. And I probably should mention before I get too far into the video that the music in the background here is technically all royalty-free, and hopefully the sound quality is okay. I am using my fancy microphone at this point, so it's kind of nice being able to actually use some of this more expensive equipment that I recently purchased for this purpose. So hopefully the sound quality is actually half decent. So, and hopefully our pug isn't breathing too much. But yeah, I'm glad you made it, Mr. Godzilla Claymation. Yeah, I was really hoping you were going to make it for the first one, but hey, better late than never, exactly, right? My opinion. So, but yeah, if you guys are curious about the music, you will find the links in the post description below, so be sure to check those out if you are interested. But without further ado, let's continue our Godzilla project here and start sculpting. Oh, yes, that's right. I have a couple announcements I should probably, get to at some point. I won't get into that exactly yet here because there's only a few people here, so we'll wait till there's possibly a few more basically in the actual stream, so that way it kind of reaches a larger audience at that point. Because I went through cleaning my studio a bit, so that way it doesn't look as nearly much of a disaster for live streaming, obviously. And I needed to make room for my laptop because, yeah, that was kind of a big problem last time. I was trying to basically hold my laptop in place whilst holding the phone and moving that around and adjusting all the lighting, which I'll probably be adjusting the lighting here and there. It was kind of briefly just set up. I kind of came back from just walking my dogs. So it's kind of why Foo's here to join us today. So. Design of the... Yeah, you're kind of referring to a lot of the drama that's been going on in the community for the whole pink. I personally don't understand it. It's kind of sad, unfortunately. But I mean, on the plus side, at least it's not as bad as like some of the Star Wars fans. Some of those are pretty toxic, unfortunately, I've noticed. But yeah, we won't go there too much. I think it's a cool design and kind of is really homaging to like the retro version of like the early days of the Godzilla 2000, like the millennial version. So I think that's really cool personally. So I thought it was kind of due for like a change, if that makes any sense. But considering the Japanese films, for example, they're constantly kind of changing the design of what their monster looks like. It's not that surprising, in my opinion. Plus, I'm kind of excited to see all this weird kaiju action that they have going on. So, yeah, that'll be kind of interesting. I don't know if you guys have seen a lot of the sneak peeks. I'll try not to be too much of a spoiler here, obviously. But, yeah, the trailers seem pretty interesting. I'll leave it at that. I might make a couple lighting adjustments here. It seems like it's kind of blinding a little bit. Hopefully that's not much better. Bear with me. This is only the second time I've gone live, guys. So learning as I go along, I'll say. So but yeah, as your request earlier, Mr. Zilla, we are kind of bulking them up here. Kind of skip that process in the actual filming part. So I guess it's now just part of the live streaming content. And of course, I'm getting a bunch of pug hair in here. It's one downside to owning animals too, unfortunately. You get a lot of pug hair in your sculptures, but It's worth it. So essentially, we're just going to basically add to his lats a little bit here. Not going too much more, but at least a good 1/4 inch thicker, I think, is probably suffice for our monster here, because he is quite bulky, and I also have to bear in mind that I still want to be able to actually animate with this character. And if he's too robust, it becomes really hard to kind of move them around at that point, unfortunately. So that's one thing you kind of always have to pay attention to, unfortunately. Especially when you're doing big, bulky characters. I know I struggle with the legs on some of the Godzillas in particular there, so. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you've seen the first parts of this project, but I kind of refer to them as like the comic book guy, that kind of toxic fan where it's just like, worst Godzilla ever, and it's like, come on, guys, like it's I don't know. I personally just don't really understand it. I first saw it. Oh, we got some spikes falling off here. Obviously, these are just kind of temporarily put in, so we'll remove those before we have a big mess of spikes everywhere. But yeah, I don't. I notice a lot of people are very picky about their Godzilla designs, for lack of a better term, because yeah, oof. I've noticed that, like, on my first Godzilla in particular, if you do kind of any sort of proportion wrong, some people will kind of chew you out for it, and it's just like, I'm sorry, okay, I won't do that again. Or using the wrong roar is another good example. People seem to be pretty picky on the sound effects with this guy too, which is slightly concerning, because I know sometimes a lot of those studios can be a little particular about protecting their assets with their sounds, but luckily we haven't had any problems with that yet, so hopefully that doesn't become an issue. If not, I guess I'll have to find some sort of way to compromise. But we are all done our left lat here, so we're going to move on to the right side and bulk me up, and then we're going to add a little bit more to the neck, and I think I'm going to move on to his chest region, seeing how you guys have a slightly better view of what's going on here. He kind of has that, I think, human look going on a little bit too much. He's very kind of got like pecs going on. So I noticed the actual design of Godzilla is a little bit more, for lack of a better term, kind of like a lizard. So I should probably make some adjustments there. Yeah, I'm glad you agree with me, Mr. Claymation Godzilla guy, because yeah, it's the fan base. It shouldn't be nearly as toxic as it is. I personally just don't understand why people are like that about it. I get it. It's pretty. He's an iconic character, and a lot of people don't like to see him messed with in that sense. But I think people should be more open to change than they realistically are. So, because I mean, I don't think there's been any complaints every time the Japanese films changed their character design. I wasn't disappointed when I saw -1, and I don't think there was any complaints about it. My only complaint was that I did not prepare for the spikes after seeing trailer 2. I was slightly disappointed on that aspect, because I was like, oh, I didn't prepare for the spikes being all jutting out. So future animation preparation video coming up. And yeah, so won't give too much away, but there are future announcements coming in for the next project. So yeah. Let me know what your guys' favorite monsters are, out of curiosity. Obviously, Godzilla is probably going to be the main contributor here. If not, dinosaurs. Dinosaurs are a cool topic. I'm always a big fan of dinosaurs, so I think I'm going to have to let my little co-host down here. I'm getting way too much pug hair in my process. Okay, Pink Godzilla, 8.5 out of 10. Yeah, the toy releases had the red spikes. I'll admit, I think a lot of people probably would have preferred to see those. That looked really cool personally, but I given who the manufacturer was of the toy company, yeah, I'm not too surprised that it wasn't exactly very accurate, unfortunately. And I definitely want to get one of those like remote control Godzillas. Those would be really cool. I think that'd be kind of entertaining to see him rampage through the whatchamacallit, little Lego city that I have. Oh, man. Verico Gamer. Hopefully I'm not butchering your name. Apologize if I read anything kind of incorrectly. I have a bit of dyslexia here, so I'm not the... Reading and writing is not my strong suit, unfortunately. Sculpting monsters, not a problem. But yeah, thanks for joining in, guys. So, my favorite dinosaur is... Oh, that is a big name there. I'm going to have to get closer to that. Yeah, puppy. This is little Miss Foo-Foo. Hey, guys. Part of my petting zoo, so hopefully she's not too annoying, but it's better to have her just kind of supervise. She's getting pretty old at this point, so try to spend as much time with her as I can. So we have a little co-host today. Hi, Pug. Yeah, fun fact, Foo actually just means pug in Japanese, so her name is actually Pug, just in a different language. So my favorite overall, -1. Yes, -1 is really cool. I think it was the spikes that personally did it for me. I just love that big jut out nature. They almost look like giant Ys to a certain degree, but I think they're really cool. Okay, so I'm going back to this dinosaur name here, which I'm probably going to butcher. I have usually a lot of practice, but that's quite the name there. Best. I can't pronounce that. I'm sorry. Luckily, seeing how I'm actually streaming on my laptop here, I have my my old laptop, so to speak, my tablet available, so I can look up what you are trying to refer to. A lot more prepared this time. So yeah, just bear with me. I'm gonna look up what that dinosaur is and spell that out properly so I can get an idea of what you're looking at. I'll probably know once I see an image of it. But kudos for you for not picking one of the fail-safe dinosaurs. I kind of hate that, unfortunately. When someone answers, oh, T-Rex or Velociraptor, and then you usually have to have that conversation that, yeah, those aren't exactly accurate, guys, unfortunately. Yeah, I've had that discussion way too many times in my life. Not to mention there's also the aspect of people thinking Indominus Rex is real. That's something that really honestly kind of took me off by surprise. Okay, I got some images here of this. Oh, that's actually really interesting. Yeah, I can't say I've actually ever heard of this. It looks like it's part of the Tyrannosauridae family, considering it's got like the whole two-finger design thing going on, I see. So yeah, I'll probably do some more homework on that thing later. Thank you. That's cool. Awesome. Good pick. Looks like a lot of the concept art there has got a lot of really, really interesting facial colors too. I quite like that. Always like that kind of aspect of paleo art when it just like portrays them almost more bird-like, where they would have these fancy colors. Because yeah, when you see birds today, none of them are usually very dull, unfortunately. Trying to make Godzilla 1984. That's a request I actually don't think I've gotten any time, so I will add that to my list here. I don't think I have a note pen handy. I have a sticky notes though, so we're ready. I don't have to go through the chat this time because I remember that being kind of a big issue too. It was just like, oh god, I have so many things I have to add to that request list there. So yeah, it was kind of interesting. So yeah, if you guys have any requests for your monsters, let me know in the chat, and I will do my best to obviously add them. Oh god, we're having a lot of lighting problems here. Just gonna get rid of this one. Nope. I think it's my big lamp that's causing the problem. Sorry, guys. There we go. That looks a lot better. No, nowhere near as glaring. At least I'm not fumbling the camera. So there's that obvious benefit. But now I'm just lost looking for a pen. Godzilla 1984. All right. Note taken. All right. Now back to lats for just a little bit. Yes. is your favorite kaiju? Oh, Godzilla is your favorite kaiju? Yeah. I think that's kind of a given for a lot of people. He's my personal favorite too. And honestly, I think the big thing that I really enjoy about this new GXK Godzilla in particular is the fact that he's kind of based off that more dinosaur lineage to a certain degree because he's got thagamizers. Like that's really cool because he's always been part like Stegosaurus and stuff like that, right? So it's nice to actually see that finally kind of represented in him. Some of my back spikes are obviously removable here, so just makes it a little easier to work on. And I think I stated this in the last live too, but my spike design has changed over time. They're now just kind of held in with that little spike there. They're not actually driven in, except for these ones. These ones are obviously fixated in place, right? So, which is kind of like one of those situations you're just hoping nothing breaks because that really sucks. Okay. Now that we've made him slightly more chunky, I'm going to add a little bit more to the top half of his neck here. Then I will probably proceed. Oh, we're having some cracking problems. Then I'll probably proceed on to the chest a little bit there where I will be actually probably doing a little bit of filming at the same time for the next upcoming video. So lights adjustment is coming. So be forewarned. Thanks. I appreciate you. Yeah, he's been quite a lot of work. I was honestly kind of hoping him to have him all done at this point. But unfortunately, yeah, the life happens. Where I live is the Great White North, and we recently got hit with a big snowstorm. So I had to spend quite a bit of time digging my car out of the snowbank in which it was buried. So unfortunately, life happens. So I'm gonna have to ditch the pug for now. She's getting a little sleepy. So hey, bye foo foo. Just gonna go put her in a little bed. She'll be back if by popular demand. But just a little easier to not have a hairy creature in your lap while you're working on things. So now I've got some pug hairs to pick out. Hairy Godzilla, he's not supposed to be a mammal, right? So we don't want that. Yeah. Although there is a couple of mammal titans that are really cool that I personally would like to make. I'm surprised King Kong hasn't been requested as much as he has. Yeah, I think he's, as far as my leaderboard goes, he is one of the top ones, but can't remember exactly who's. Oh yeah, all that stuff's kind of on my iPhone at this point. So sorry, I just had to check on the pug, make sure she's doing good. Now, as for adding clay layers here, one thing you always kind of want to do, or at least I personally like to do to make sure my characters stay really evened out, is usually I'll start with like just a little ball of clay and kind of mush it up into my hand and make sure things are nice and even. But I've already gone too far there. So what I'm going to do is just essentially make a identical piece of roughly the same width and thickness, and then just slap both on and then kind of blend them into the neck there. That way it keeps your character relatively uniform, so you're not trying to fill in a bunch of even and odd spots, which I will probably end up going through. It's something I always have to do, and it's usually a lot of time that's spent off camera, unfortunately, which I usually am not a fan of because it's like, I have no footage from this evening. So, but luckily, I think the live streams are going to suffice for that one quite a bit. Kind of give you guys too an interesting perspective of how much time and dedication actually really does go into these things, because it is a lot. Go pink. I just got the image of him making a pair of pink pom-poms for this Godzilla, make him do some cheerleading stuff. That'd be kind of entertaining. That'd be kind of, yeah, maybe make him do a couple rap songs or something like that. Although usually, I kind of hate to admit it, I avoid usually trying to make my characters talk a lot of the time as much as I would like to. It's just an extremely time-consuming process. So something that if I was going to have a animation that usually involves a lot of talking, I'm probably going to have to use some vacation time from work to make that happen, unfortunately. Although I'll admit, a lot of the roars and sound effects that these Godzillas tend to produce, yeah, ugh, they're lengthy. I mean, it's really cool. Don't get me wrong, but part of me will be going through my sound effects and then just kind of going through the timing on those roars, and it's like 8 seconds. Okay, that's gonna take me about 6 hours to animate this. Yeah. Go. I mean, a good average for a lot of my animations. I mean, it really depends on what is taking place in the scene, right? But I think the average is about 1 hour per second is about an average of what you would usually get out of a lot of that stuff. So 1 hour gets 1 second of footage, unfortunately. Sometimes you'll get lucky and they get a little bit more than that, but not by a lot. So if you get more complicated scenes, like I know, for example, when I was doing -1 charging and blasting off the zombie dinosaur's neck here, that ratio almost doubled at that point. It took me about 2 hours for 1 second of footage. Turned out really cool, but by the end, I was kind of getting to that point where it was just like, I don't know how much more of this I can really honestly handle. This is. But I think it was kind of a lot of people's favorite part, and I definitely appreciate the recommendation from the comments on that one because I probably wouldn't have done the kiss of death otherwise. So, like, any more caffeine. Not speaking English properly. This is content creator's best friend at this particular point in my life. You said pick Godzilla, not pink. Oh, my bad. Sorry. Dyslexic moment there. Go pick. Yeah. Are you requesting one of the Godzillas to be on display, like the original Gojira or the -1 Godzilla? Oh man, Gojira's in pretty rough shape at the moment. He needs a good restoration. That's oof. He's been through a few animations. He recently tore apart a city, so I think it's kind of forgivable that he might be in rough shape. Okay. That concludes the shoulder part. Hopefully the webcam quality is a little okay. I'm not usually, from my experience, a lot of these things aren't usually the greatest quality, which is kind of why I stuck to the cell phone before, but we'll live and learn. A lot of light glare. Fire in the hole. Not sure what you mean by that. Oh, my lamp's trying to fall over, guys. Hat's only protecting me so much from that stuff, too. But yeah, I think we've beefed up the neck enough at this point. I don't want to go too much thicker. Oh, hello, hi. You want to come say hi? I have another puppy, by the way, everyone. Oh, come up. Come here, sweetie. Come on. Hi. Okay, apparently she's a little more camera shy. There's the German Shepherd down there, if you can see her. But yeah, small petting zoo. Yeah, there she is. Let's see. Oh, thanks. That's big compliment. I'm glad I'm your favorite YouTuber. It's definitely a lot of work doing this kind of stuff. it's been on my to-do list to start content creation for quite some time, and honestly, it's been quite a rewarding experience. So I personally can't thank you guys all enough for basically being the encouragement for, well, everything that's kind of taken place so far on the table. So yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate that compliment. So did you want something? Yeah. Oh, that was loud. Shh. Relax, sweetie. We literally just did your adventure time before we did the streaming, so you should be fine. Just being a brat.
Cook like a Bosch with ovens featuring air fry for crispy results every time from Bosch.
What is the oldest clay build? That's actually a good question. I don't think anyone's actually been really wondering about that. Now, this may come as a bit of a surprise, considering the direction everything is taking place at this point. It's all dinosaur and monster focused. But the oldest one was the clay car that was recently exploded in the Godzilla takeover there, unfortunately. So that was the very first armature doll that I actually ever made, was that little orange hot rod that was recently blown up. So that's actually where I started YouTube, was making stop motion little clay cars, essentially. I thought it would be a lot more interesting, but apparently the demographic wasn't really there for it. So here we are. We're making Godzillas and dinosaurs now, which personally I think is a lot more interesting to a degree. I've always been a major car guy. Don't get me wrong. I still love cars, but obviously the muse has been fed, pun intended. But what I'm doing now on our Godzilla, just kind of thicking up the top of the neck here, making sure our skull or head is essentially even with the actual neck piece there. And we're just about out of clay for this whole section too. And I'm gonna have to get out some probably some sculpting knives to kind of carve out what I'd like on the chest and look up a few images from what I can find. It's one issue I've found by making a lot of these Godzillas or monsters that are just on, the brink of exposure, for lack of a better term. Finding source images for these things is really difficult. Now, rubber sculpting tools, one of my favorites, honestly, as it gets into those hard to reach places for all those spikes and things like that, where you can just kind of blend things in where your fingers can't get there. Excuse me. Got a Godzilla face-off question here. Apologize here. Reading is a little Also, do you think Twilight? I don't understand if Twilight has much to do with hopefully the mic sound here is okay. I don't know if just kind of noticed there's a little bar here. It doesn't seem to be very active, so hopefully you guys can hear me okay. I'm not sure what you're referring to with Twilight and Godzilla there. I'm a little confused, unfortunately. I'm sorry. Godzilla. Oh, why would Godzilla eat chicken in one of your videos? I'm thinking you're referring to one of the shorts where he's holding like a drumstick. I basically have like a collection of small props, essentially. So I have like a bunch of pies. There's actually like 3 pies hidden within that little short and various other things too. So it was just kind of one of those things I had offhand, and he was at that point where he needed a good, beefing up, for lack of a better term. So I figured it'd be kind of funny to give him some food. Hey, be nice. No. She's just wandering around blind and lost because she's old. I have to go pick up my pug again, so I might have my little co-host here with us. But yeah, just notice an uneven spot here with the neck, so just kind of trying to fill that out. I think most of this is pretty much done. Just kind of trying to give my Godzilla a good pet here and make sure there's no obvious parts where I've added clay and keep things nice and even with the textures. Give him a burger. Could make a burger prop. That'd be kind of interesting. Wouldn't be too difficult. Wonder if I have I think I have some little food pieces actually kicking around that I could probably use that I don't have to actually make anything. Although if it's actually clay at that point, it might be kind of entertaining because then I can take chunks out of it, have him actually eat it, for example. One thing that's kind of disappointing about these rubber sculpting tools, you kind of have to be careful how you use them because they will kind of leave tool marks. But at the same time, too, not something we really have to worry about too much because Godzilla is usually pretty rough in texture anyway. And I'll be right back because my pug seems to be wandering around a lot, so I'm just going to place her in a bed. Luckily, she's right here. Hi, sweetie. Come on.
That helps me cut down the workload.
Yeah, just stay in your bed there, honey. No wandering around, okay? How old? How old is the doll? Geez, that's actually, I can't remember. Probably that, the little orange car that I referred to earlier. I think that thing is probably at least 6-7 years old now at this point. The channel's been around for at least 5, and I know I had that car before YouTube, so I think, yeah, about at least 4 or 5 years old at the bare minimum. Been sculpting for probably about 25 years, so made a lot of projects. I have a vast inventory of clay and various other things. Maybe there'll be a shelf tour one day because I got Jack Skellingtons, dragons, Scrat, Pumpkin Man, mooses, and dinosaurs, and all kinds of things around here. It's actually pretty interesting. Lots of added inspiration. I like to kind of be surrounded by my own sculptures to a degree because, I don't know, I think it's kind of cool. Gets a little crowded, I'll admit. As you can tell, there's a lot of characters everywhere. But I think we'll be due for a studio upgrade here soon. I'll be probably saving towards a new art table, I think, and I'll probably actually move things into a living room and make things just a lot easier where I'll have a lot more space because right now this is kind of I think I've outgrown my small little studio in the corner of my house at this point, so... Yeah, I mean, sub count's been actually going up quite a bit lately, too, so that's pretty cool. I'm surprised that, yeah. The average has been doing pretty good. What I think I'm going to have to do, because it seems to be what most people really want, is a lot more dinosaur and Godzilla fights. So, hopefully I can finish this guy in a timely manner, because I know that movie is going to be coming out very soon, so... I remember hearing that announcement earlier today on one of my... favorite content creating channels, and I was like, oh god, yeah, that's right, it is being released this month. I better do something about that. So yeah, the rush is on, I guess, for finishing this guy. Not that there wasn't one before, but yeah. I need a few more super cuts usually before I can usually get into a animation. I don't know if anyone's really picked up on that kind of schedule yet, but usually when you have some supercuts coming up, that means I'm probably in the process of doing a lot of animating, so I just don't have time to normally do a lot of those normal videos that I would generally post. So that's usually kind of a way to make up for it. And I think live streaming, while I take stop motion, will be even more exciting for a lot of you guys, because then you get to witness it firsthand on how little these things basically kind of move little bit by bit to kind of see, get an idea of what it takes to do these stop motion animations, because it's a time consuming process, but the end result is always really rewarding, personally, in my opinion. So just checking for uneven spots here. A bit of a dip on the side of the neck. Make a green Godzilla. That actually could be possibly done, because I have a large inventory of green clay too, to be honest. Which, I think we're 36 minutes into the stream at this point, so I could probably make one of those announcements at this point. So, yeah. Considering we have a point system going on, I know a lot of people wanted to see a Shin Godzilla next in particular, obviously. So, unfortunately, I think I'm going to have to slightly go against that, because given the color bank, I have a large amount of plasticine clay, obviously, but not enough to start another Shin Godzilla. Hey, sweet, come here. Not enough to start another Shin Godzilla, obviously, right away. So, what we're going to do instead is I'm going to do a Shimu. So, yes, no. Would you made it in 1954? I did make a 1954 Godzilla, actually. He was my first one. Please. Okay, I'm a little confused as to what you're asking, but either way, the announcement, yes. Back to that after being interrupted by a deafblind pug wandering around. Shimu. I have so much white plasticine and I've had nothing to do with it. Like, it's just kind of crazy. I have pounds of this stuff. Like, I was going through my color bank today and it was just like, hey, I kind of have to do something with this. So once we're done this, considering, the whole Godzilla X Kong thing's kind of coming out at this point, we're going to kind of continue with that trend hopping and make a Shimu, because what better opportunity to essentially make one of those characters than now, right? And I have more than enough clay to make that thing. It might actually soar past King Ghidorah. So that'll be an interesting project. Luckily, he doesn't have wings or 3 heads, because FYI, for any of those inspiring claymation artists out there, when you have wings or identical heads on a character, it's a lot harder to make that at that point, because just, everything has to be identical, right? Kingzilla, thanks for joining in. And hey, buddy. Why do you sound different in... Oh, why do I sound different in the shorts? Okay, here I'm using a fancy microphone setup, actually, and just notice the boom's actually kind of in the way. So that's why I sound a lot different in the normal stuff. I probably have to go through some settings on this thing, unfortunately. Probably shouldn't play around with that a whole lot. Sorry, guys. But that's why I sound a lot different. I'm using different set of microphones, basically, for the actual... the different... I use wireless headphones for there. I could probably have this thing set up to it. I don't know what personally really sounds better, but I'm not used to playing with professional microphones, obviously, here. So that's why I sound a lot different, probably. So last time I was on live, I was using like just a little earbud. I imagine it probably was bumping up against the shirt of my collar, so I generally don't like using those things very much. So yeah, hopefully it's not terrible, because it wasn't cheap. Thank you. Glad you like the Godzilla, because he's definitely... I don't know if he's been the most work. I think I've just gotten a lot better at them at this point. But definitely been a massive undertaking. The spikes on the face, that was... took some time. And it's going to be kind of interesting to try and get all those spaces in between there when I get into the face details later on today. But luckily, I have a decent amount of experience with this stuff, so I don't think it'll be too much of a hassle. It's just time consuming. So, yeah. Obviously, this thing hasn't been finished yet, and this will lead into my next announcement here as well, because usually I try to post once a week, but I don't want to rush this project either. I want to make sure that he's as good as he possibly can be. So what I'm going to basically end up doing, I think, is the compromise for me being behind schedule. So I'm going to be basically streaming as much as possible. Kind of still trying to figure this out. Obviously, there might be some awkward moments where I'm playing with lighting or getting the phone out or whatever happens to be. I honestly wanted to do it on the cell phone today, but for whatever reason, YouTube was not letting me do that. So we made a compromise. I'm now using my laptop, so it's honestly a little easier this way. I can actually read things quite a bit faster instead of trying to juggle multiple devices all at once. So may or may not just kind of stick this way. I'll obviously kind of review the footage and see how things are and make according adjustments, but yeah. So the compromise for me being behind schedule and not having a video posted this week, you guys will get to see a lot more lives, basically, is kind of the idea. So I'm hoping to have this guy all finished basically by Friday. It was usually kind of a good day to post on YouTube as is. So kind of a win-lose situation here, being behind schedule, but at least I get to post on a good day, right? So, and given the fact that we actually had a massive snowstorm recently, I think there'll be some pretty interesting thumbnails and glamour shots with this guy if I get the timing and lighting appropriately, because we all know how the trailers kind of revealed him, right? So I have a few plans for that. So fingers crossed that my weather doesn't get any worse and I don't have to dig my car out of any more snowbanks or anything like that. But yeah, just feeling out for weird uneven spots. Kind of had one in the leg here towards the hip where I kind of had a weird ugly dip in it. Am I from Canada? Yeah, eh? Don't know what you're talking about. But yes, I am from the Great White North, so to speak. And I don't know how many of you guys are used to dealing with snow, but wow, we got a lot of it yesterday, unfortunately. Put it to say the very least. I think we got at least 1.5 feet, almost, if not more. So, by the way, for people that are just joining in, the heavy breathing is the pug, not me. Might have to try and make a compromise, but of course my animals apparently want to be on camera today. Not sure why. Pesties. Me? Yeah. Your breath stinks, though. Okay. I think I'm pretty much at that point where I'm ready to start actually filming for the actual video, because I don't really feel too many other spots that I can play around with. Okay. So there'll be some light adjustments coming here fairly shortly, where I'm now going to be yeah. Sorry, I'm just kind of going over what the footage I have on my phone here, what I kind of have to do next, essentially. So I think I was working on the hands last time. I don't know if I did a transition for that, unfortunately, but that's okay. Fake it till we make it. There'll be another one today. Yeah, upper body. Oof, that's heavy. Probably about 5 pounds now. Maybe a little less. Not by much, though. I remember buying at least 4 pounds of clay for this guy, so. Okay, see you soon, Mr. Zilla. Don't be gone too long. I don't know how much longer I will be live, unfortunately, at this point. I usually try to keep it around an hour. I know I'm kind of new to live streaming here on YouTube, but yeah. I used to do it on Facebook a decent amount, but I'll have to get some software for that kind of stuff where I'll be able to hopefully kind of intertwine the two, but a lot of that got really complicated pretty quick, so just gonna put the puggy down. She's kind of getting in the way. Can you go lay down, sweetie? Go lay down. Good girl. Okay, so this is the point where I'm going to need some reference photos. Luckily, I have a bunch of things saved in my trusty Google files here. Yeah, sourcing images for some of these kaijus has not been easy, unfortunately. It's been a problem for this guy in particular. My first Godzilla was really easy. Lots of stuff on 1954 Godzilla. So, I think that at that point I was almost had the opposite problem. Just kind of overwhelmed by the amount of things that I had going on for references. Pug, come on. You gotta lay down, sweetie. Lay down. Lay down. Lay down. No more. You're gonna have to stay in the bedroom, I think, next time this happens, because this is kind of annoying. Okay, where was I before? Interrupted by animals once again. Not a good one. So notice he has like a very armored like chest appearance, not this weird kind of pectoral thing that I have going on. I mean, that works. It's okay. I haven't had anyone complain about it, but it's just more or less me not being able to leave well enough alone or going, can make that slightly better. I'm going to have to actually look up legitimate images here. My lack of preparation is now showing once again. I don't know if it's my lack of preparation or just the fact that these studios are a little more protective over their imagery. I think I kind of understand why they do that. Makes a lot of sense, because then you kind of have to go see the film to see the full monster, right? Good hook on their part. Very good. Honestly, I think the toys have been probably the best reference photos for me for most of it. Which has probably got its ups and downsides to it all, because y'all know the first images of this Godzilla was not exactly popular, very well received, to say the very least about it.
Good morning with Goldilocks.
So, chest. Maybe I'll find it with that keyword. I doubt it. Getting a lot of King Kong images, of course. So, Godzilla toy. Apologize, this is probably not the most exciting thing to be watching on a stream right now, but at least it gives you an idea of how, much work kind of goes into me at least trying to stick to true as to what these things would look like as much as possible. Especially when you're dealing with new stuff. Oh god, stupid tablet. It's not exactly easy to kind of find stuff, so yeah. But I got the remote control Godzilla image here, and I think that's kind of enough to go off. He's got a weird, almost like six-pack design kind of going on his chest. So, time to break out the carving knives and kind of undo what I've done so far, essentially. Now, this is kind of where I want to start filming at the same time, too, so we're going to be playing with multiple devices. And I'm going to move the lights around, so be prepared for a little bit of jankiness. Can you do Godzilla in a suit? I don't know how well my sewing capabilities are. I do have sewing kits. I mean, it'd be kind of interesting to make a formal Godzilla. I think that'd be kind of amusing. Change that as my profile picture for YouTube, actually. Sorry, Milton. We've kind of been outshined at this point, my friend. For those of you who are unaware, Milton is my little moose character, and I don't think it's nearly as well known as it used to be, but it's usually a little game for a lot of my normal videos where if you're watching them and you spot when he shows up in the background of the videos, you basically get a shout in the next one. So be sure to watch out for Milton the Moose in a lot of the content. He's been on the loose for quite some time, so. Now, usually for my little tripod setup here, I use little strips of clay just to make sure it's not really going to be really wobbly and moving around a whole bunch, especially if you're making any adjustments for these Godzillas, because it usually kind of stomps things around. He's not exactly a very small character. Okay, so now we're going to make some lighting adjustments here, so I apologize if things get a little weird, but welcome to the life of a content creator that sculpts. I just have a big dummy lamp essentially here with the combination of essentially, not to nerd out about it too much, but daylight blue and ambient, so it gives you kind of a good color spectrum of both things whilst it's on camera. Then there's a light here, then there's a light up there, and a light up there. So there's like about 10 lights surrounding me, basically, at all times, which is usually why I wear a hat all the time. I used to never be a hat wearer, believe it or not, like at all. But notice my eyes have gone slightly sensitive over the years due to the amount of light exposure that I'm usually kind of exposed to. And also I'm a welder full time, so there's been the occasional welder's flash that's been a problem as well. I don't know if any of you are aware of what that is, but basically it's when those ultraviolet lights from the arcs of the weld blind you temporarily, and you see little spots, and it feels like someone's rubbing sand on your eyes. It's not very comfortable. So, yeah. Ow. Don't, you know, I don't even like talking about it, just as reference, because, yeah, it's pretty rough sometimes when that happens. Don't do it without a mask, but usually sometimes the environment you're in, you don't always have that luxury, I've noticed. Life source. My new best friend, caffeine. No, stupid ad. Apologize. Shouldn't be playing with my other cell phone. Essentially, I just kind of have background music playing on a Wi-Fi speaker. I should probably almost kind of drop that together. I don't know if it's necessarily really needed. Seem to be pretty good at kind of talking to myself the entire time. Had lots of practice by spending a lot of time in a tiny little soundproof room talking about dinosaurs and Godzillas. Only been slightly mentally scarred from all of this. Slightly. Yeah, I digress. We won't talk about my traumas. So, time to start actually filming a little bit of content here, essentially. We're now working on the upper half of our Godzilla here. So it's time to boot up my fancy new S23 cell phone, which I'm honestly not sponsored, but I do love this thing. It's great. A lot better than my old iPhone, not sponsored, so I can talk as much trash as I want about that thing. My only complaint is that this thing is capable of shooting like 8K, but a lot of the editing software that I have can't keep up with it. So I have to make some adjustments on that, obviously, in order to get the full 8K. But, I mean, for retrospect, at least the shorts, those are in like highest full quality possible because I don't really have to do a whole lot of editing, and that seems to work just fine there, which is really strange. But hey, at least you guys that enjoy the shorts so much get, you know, the high quality of things. Kind of wish it was able to do that. Like there is one other app that I know does work with that 8K, but it usually really struggles and it does not like how much I put down. I basically kind of have to do the normal footage at the normal regular film rate. I probably shouldn't nerd out too much about film tech stuff, but yeah, it's annoying. It's really annoying. I'll admit, I used to not be exactly the most tech savvy person in the past, but you can now get along with the IT guys at work. I notice a lot of the time. So, Moose Godzilla Man, it's an interesting name. Yeah, I'm gonna have to kind of get a little bit more focused on your comment there. It's a little pretty in depth. Mooseman in the suit is actually nowhere. Search your. Okay, I gotta make a note then. Search it up. You're making a video reference. Okay, some added inspiration. Uh-oh. So, got the handy pen. I always get a kick out of the recommendations that you guys usually make for me to go see. 'Cause sometimes it leads down some really weird rabbit holes. I'm like, oh god, I had no idea that was a thing. But yeah, welcome to the internet, right? There's won't go too far into that one. Yeah. Ay caramba, as Bart would say. Some really strange stuff, but kind of makes it amusing. Careful what you look up. Godzilla, I'll just write down Godzilla suit and I'll probably come back to live footage later just to kind of keep the flow going. If you have any other recommendations or want to add a point to your favorite monster, be sure to obviously leave that in the chat there, and I will make a note for that. Oh, are you the one that made the 84 comment? I can't remember. So many things going through my head at once. It's, yeah. Not to mention the fact that I don't probably sleep enough anymore because of content creation. Speaking of which, now I want more coffee, but I should probably get this scene now. This is going to be a slight awkward moment for everyone here. I'm going to be putting this little remote piece in my mouth. Didn't fall on the floor, thankfully. Because when I first started doing this stuff, it was really annoying because I would have to put my hands in and out of film by pushing the button. So there'd be that awkward transition of me getting in there to do whatever I had to do. So in order to save on editing time where I don't have to do that, I just put the little remote button in my mouth and click it on and off with my lips, basically. So as it sounds, probably editing is my least favorite thing about content creation, which is kind of nice with these live streams. There's really no editing required here. Just go. Just, yeah. I admit today I was hoping to go live much earlier than I was live today, but life happens, unfortunately, so we're all caught up, and we'll be doing it a lot more this week. So be sure to keep your post notifications on if you don't already have them. Oh yeah, I need a record call. Sorry, yeah, sorry guys. Awkward. But I don't want to have to edit more than I already do. These are probably kind of funny.
Mr. Clean Magic Eraser powers through tough messes. Makes it look like I spent hours cleaning. No, I didn't.
Oh, okay. Like it's part of that horror genre thing that's been going around. Cool. Yeah. That's one thing I would like to see you guys do too. Interact with amongst each other a little bit more often. Because I'll admit, I'm maybe not the most diverse Godzilla fan. I'm more of a dinosaur nerd that kind of got a suggestion one day. I can't remember who made that original suggestion. I'm gonna have to look them up. Because yeah, they're like, this guy would make a really good Godzilla, and yeah, here we are. So it was dinosaurs, now it's all this. So kind of interesting how that all turned out. Didn't see this, yeah. But I guess this is probably a good good time for me to kind of lead into some Easter eggs that have definitely gone unnoticed in the last animation. So, just for reference, kind of, yeah, obviously things have changed quite a lot here, and I've placed some things in there that I thought were pretty obvious, but unfortunately weren't nearly as visible as I thought they would be. But I'll give one away because it was within close proximity to my Christmas animation. There's probably a tree back there that doesn't belong. So that one doesn't really have anything to do with anything. It's just kind of a cool little Easter egg. But for those of you, yeah, kind of just tuning in, what I'm working on right now on our legendary Godzilla is just kind of trying to work out what the chest design is supposed to be. Fortunately, my image is a toy, so I always kind of struggle going off their references just a little bit because I find their proportions usually are a little inaccurate, but I mean, some of mine probably aren't exactly accurate either, but given he's a handmade claymation doll, you can only expect so much, and yeah, I have to bear in mind safe spots and things I can place my hands to make this guy essentially come to life, which I'm sure is what everyone really wants to see. Not sure if I announced it either, but just kind of throw it out there. There's probably going to be a Godzilla fight coming soon. Considering this film's coming out very fast, yeah, hopefully I can get the timing good on that one. Okay, so I have kind of like weird outline of where I kind of want his chest six-pack to be. So now what I need is my other color bank, which happens to be this way. Still, smooth transition, right? Yeah. So usually keep all my clay bits in plastic bags just so things don't get all mixed up. Because if you have a lot of plasticine clay, it's usually good to kind of keep all of your colors separate, because otherwise it kind of becomes a big jumbled ugly mess, which nobody wants because stuff can be kind of expensive over a period of time. So try to be resourceful with your material as possible. I don't think this guy is necessarily that expensive in retrospect. Like probably about maybe $100 to make the entire doll, not including that. It's probably a slight overestimation, but so I think I spent about $60 in clay, and then you're including your armature wire, it's another like $20, and aluminum foil, and a little bit of oven baked clay. So yeah, probably are close to $100. Which, I mean, considering you get a fully anatomical, Godzilla toy, I think that's pretty not a bad deal in retrospect. So yeah. Now let's make the abs. And we are getting close to an hour here on the stream, so I'll have to probably call it quits soon. Mainly so my devices don't struggle to upload this thing after the fact, because it usually is quite a big file. I noticed it took quite a few hours to actually upload the other one. So
you can rise from pain.
Just for my device purposes sakes, I'm like Smeagol. We'll have to draw things to a close here. I don't think I have any other announcements. I announced Shimu. Oh god, caffeine boost. Announced Shimu. Next project, more live streams this week, and this Godzilla will be done on the Friday. I think that was everything I had to do. Probably should have made more notes. Okay, back to our weird chest six-pack. So, what we're going to do here... Oh yeah, I like your Godzillas. They're really cool. Like, yeah, that's been a request I've gotten a few times, actually, is to make a Godzilla more to your scales. Because mine are really big. I don't know if I have some regrets personally kind of going up to this scale size to a certain extent. I foo-foo. But, yeah. Honey, you're gonna bump into my lights here. Sorry, pug problems. She's kind of old and okay. If you just hang out there, that's okay, honey. Kind of old and kind of blind, so she doesn't know where she's going a lot of the time, unfortunately. So, my only complaint about dogs is they just don't live long enough. So, trying to cherish every moment I can with her at this given particular juncture, because she's about 14 now. So, kind of hard to think about. It probably shouldn't. Yeah. Anyway, on a more heartening note, what I'm working on is our abs here for our chest. So what I usually like to do is start out with a pair of even balls. Don't take that the wrong way. Even clay pieces, and basically that way it keeps things proportional, especially when you're doing this, because they have to be fairly uniform when they're going down across directly one another, because it's going to be pretty obvious if you have one that's bigger than the other, and it kind of makes things look lopsided. But yeah, your Godzillas are awesome, so keep up the good work, man. I definitely love them, and I'll have to make a small Godzilla probably at some point, because that's been requested a few times. So yeah, it's intimidating making these really big guys. It's not something I would really recommend for everyone, because yeah, I have nightmares about spikes. Again, we're talking about my questionable mental status with content creation at this point, but that's okay. Worth it. It's all worth it. How I send links? It should be. I honestly don't know. I know it sounds really bad, but I don't really provide a whole lot usually in the description of these, because it's all just kind of really like done on my laptop, get things done, get a schedule going, right? So yeah, you could easily share the channel link. I know that, but I'll work on my descriptions more for next stream, where I can edit things around. So you'll have an actual link to the stream in the next description next time. So thank you. We'll make some adjustments. We're all just kind of learning. I'm still new to a lot of this stuff, unfortunately. So, but yeah, after you make your round clay objects, basically all you have to kind of do is then pinch it into, it's kind of hard to see, unfortunately, lighting's not set up too great for you guys. I do apologize, but trying to film and be live at the same time, not the easiest task either, right? So you just kind of pinch things into like a little square chunk. That's what it kind of looks like. It's like a weird ab. And essentially you get those hard lines, and then what I'll end up using to make it all actually blend in nicely is you just, give it some smoother line comparison to the nice hard lines that you would get. So it kind of looks like it's supposed to be there, right? So I'm going to be silent for a few minutes by sticking a remote in my mouth once again. I feel like this should be on private content creation. Uh-oh. That's a picture I don't want. Yeah, that was too long. Usually I try to keep my scenes around 6 seconds, so that way when I click it off, I don't have to trim things out too much either. So oh, hey Kingzilla, you're back. Your video. I seen your video that you made. Not sure what video you're referring to. Big list of those at this point. Like the legendary Godzilla stuff you're talking about? I'm not too sure. Uh-oh. Ew. You're bumping into my lights. Or Peggy. Okay. I think I got the premise of the idea now for my Godzilla weird abs on his chest. The lizard pattern. I think that's probably more appropriate. The lizard, scaly lizard chest. So now we are ready to basically kind of start blending things in, where our rubber sculpting tools comes in handy. Now, obviously they come in a variety of different sizes. Personally, my favorite ones, if you're going to have only one rubber sculpting tool, get the ones with the pointed edge. I have a collection of very weird ends and I almost never use them. However, it is nice to have them because once you get into that situation where you are in need of it, it's nice to have it. But most of them just kind of sit there, collect dust, unfortunately. So kind of an interesting process, I'd imagine, for some of you there. You can kind of see how much goes really unseen when you're watching the normal videos. That was just like a quick, brief blend things in a little bit, cut. Now we're going to basically just kind of blend in the rest of it. Get rid of those hard lines so it looks like it's actually supposed to be there. Something you can do this with your fingers too, but I just find that, my fingers are not exactly like sausages by any means, but it's harder to get in there and get those fine details that you want. But then again, also the best tool in a sculptor's arsenal is their hands to a certain extent. Like these, if you're sculpting, personally, the best thing you can use is your hands. By far. We got a little pinhole in there. Don't really want to use the pointy end, so kind of going through my tool inventory here. I think what we're going to use there is a small ball stylist. So essentially kind of similar process, but this is a middle one, so it doesn't actually have that flex and give to it, so you can basically not have to worry about that pointy edge, and we can get more soft round pieces, which would probably make another good scene. Leave her alone. She's lost. Just leave her alone, sweetie. Good girl, Foo. Sorry, guys. Line pug. Tries to be part of the group, but it's pretty lost. I think next time we'll have to put her in my bedroom, so she's not so much of a problem, unfortunately. I'll just have to spend some extra time with her after streaming. Oh, the one I just made. So you are talking about the legendary Godzilla. Now, I think this one's probably going to be one of my favorite. I'm kind of hard stuck between -1 and this guy. This guy's a lot bigger, so I don't know. Usually kind of preference to the larger guys being pretty cool. King Ghidorah is probably actually my favorite sculpture thus far, even though it was a really extremely difficult project, but that's fine. Oh, we're over an hour now. Got 6 people in, 6 likes, so not too bad. Nowhere near as exciting as the last stream, though, unfortunately, so let's boost things up a little bit here, guys. Come on. Won't be on too much longer, but As always, next time, hopefully I'll be able to go live a lot earlier. Fortunately, life did kind of get in the way today, but I think what we'll do is I'll just kind of finish up doing clean up my chest 6-pack here. I'll give you guys a demonstration of what's going on. Lighting is terrible. I'm sorry. I'll take a light. But yeah, as you can see there, he's got kind of a weird 6-pack thing kind of going on in his chest. I don't think the camera's very good on this thing too either. Hopefully, YouTube, you let me use the cell phone next time, because I would kind of prefer that. That's what I was planning, but every time I seem to be going on live, something weird happens. But that's fine. We'll make compromises. Be nice, Holly. Pug seems to have gone on an adventure now, of course. Jeez. Luckily, there's a baby gate downstairs, so she can't go anywhere too far. Kind of sucks. Old puppies. But yeah, so just taking my rubber sculpting tool and sliding in between all those pectoral muscles. Not pectoral, they are kind of pectoral muscles, but they're not conventional pectoral muscles. And then once you kind of blend everything in, I usually kind of like to kind of slide my hands over it, pet my Godzilla, for lack of a better term, to just kind of smooth things out a little bit more. So it's not, you get rid of a lot of those hard tool lines at that point, right? That's something you don't really want to see, is a bunch of weird, mushy parts. Although that's kind of exactly what I'm doing right now. So now I have to clean it again. And the background music is suddenly stopped. Okay. Almost done here, guys. Fortunately, my puggy is wandering around too, so try to balance so many things at once, right? Probably should have almost kept her in my lap the entire time. Alright, so just to wrap things up on the odd 6-pack thing we have going on here, what I'm going to do next is essentially make a little clay sausage snake, and then we're going to wrap that around the ab part that we've already made, kind of giving it that like transition that part's just sunk in a little bit further than everything else, essentially. Making him a little bit more like the new actual legendary Godzilla. Not so much some weird suit, or yeah, too much human stuff going on from my perspective that I didn't like seeing. So apologize for the if you guys can hear the pug wandering around in the background. I don't know how well this mic is actually picking up on everything. I don't know why it's green now. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Hopefully there hasn't been some technical issues. I think it's working. But I'll stick this on, and I think it's just about time to wrap this up. Unintended. Then once it's loosely placed on there, essentially what we want to do next is just blend in our little sausage. And for that, we don't necessarily need any think fancy rubber sculpting tools necessarily here. Kind of want to keep that hard edge just around that part, just so it keeps it nice and defined. And then I'm just going to use my thumbs to kind of blend it in. Make it look all even. Just like so. Now I'll have to probably do a little bit more refining and get a bit of that classic shape back to a certain degree. I seem to have lost that a little bit with the clay layering, but sort of playing around with my rubber sculpting tools and just kind of picking and poking and prodding at the appropriate places will get us that actual determined look that we're going for. Oh, you're also working on an evolved Godzilla. Have you made posts on like Instagram or anything like that? Oh, and I probably should mention, seeing how a lot of you seem to really enjoy Godzilla content here, especially in regards to claymation sort of stuff, be sure to check out, well, Claymationzilla later on and go subscribe to his channel because, well, obviously he does a lot of the same sort of stuff I do. So go check him out, guys. Yeah, I definitely like to see your interpretation of the new Evo Godzilla. I was pretty excited to see him, to be honest. It's kind of like two things kind of at once I was able to accomplish. It's like, oh, a lot of people are requesting Legendary, so let's just make this version of him, seeing how it's trending on the internet. Only sad part is just, yeah, I think a lot of people probably saw that coming, is the amount of controversy that was coming with that character to a degree. But I think almost some of that might have been planned by the filmmakers to make people talk about it a lot more, right? Because any publicity is good publicity, right? That's how the world seems to kind of think a lot of the time, which I suppose is kind of a win-lose situation. But yeah, I personally am a huge fan of him. And yeah, Japanese characters of Godzilla change all the time. We've had Shin. No one complained about that. -1 looks vastly different than the original Suitmation one. But I understand that a lot of people do think that the true version of Godzilla is that Suitmation version, which I can't really wholeheartedly disagree because it was the, co-founder for everything. But we're now no longer in that century. Although I did, honestly, that's probably one of my favorite films. They did a really good job on that. And yeah, as long as you're willing to kind of forgive the fact that it's an old 1950s film in black and white, it's honestly a great film, and I definitely would recommend it for a lot of people. It's very sad. It's the only warning I'll give you. Imagine a vast majority of my audience has already seen it and is well aware of that, but I've noticed, yeah, the general public, there's a lot of people in the general public that haven't seen that film and don't necessarily have that understanding, which is a little disheartening to a certain extent because it's the way they view it. It's just a guy in a rubber suit, and it's like, okay. I don't think you're really fully aware of the repercussions that some of those people had to go through in order to pull that stuff off. It was not fun. Like, there were a couple of accidents that nearly caused some pretty bad, things. So we won't go too much on that on a live stream, obviously, because YouTube probably won't like that. But I don't know. I found that's kind of a disappointing factor that the general public has a feeling towards a lot of those Godzilla films, especially the older ones. It's dude in a suit. It's like, okay. You try being that guy in a 200+ pound suit. I don't think you're going to live that long. Yeah, I would personally love to be the guy in the suit. That would be a lot of fun, but it would not be easy. From what I understand, those guys can't see anything. Breathing was a big issue. Sometimes they got shocked and various other things. But yeah, like, it got pretty rough. And I just don't understand why people just have such a kind of disrespect for it in a sort of sense. JW Spinosaurus. Hey, buddy. glad for you to join in. Unfortunately, I kind of hate to say it, but we will probably be ending things here soon. Just because it's been going for about an hour and a half at this point, close to that. And I will need to get some sleep at some point. It's getting a little late here up in Canada, and I also want to get a good chunk of this thing done, and I have to go through a bunch of footage too, unfortunately, because my new phone doesn't really like my massive file sizes that I like to do for my videos. Unfortunately, that's one thing I'll give, not sponsored, the iPhone props for. It did like doing that kind of stuff. Samsung's not a huge fan of it. I probably should be using my computer, but I usually kind of like to edit on the go while I'm doing other things, so it's not so much of a time waster, so to speak. Just gonna take a quick peek at my reference photos here for my abs, because I think my chest abs, I don't know how else to put them, but I think I'm just about ready to move on for the next part here.
Hey guys! Ashley has a huge anniversary sale going on right now. Trust me.
No free publicity for you. Sorry, guys. Gotta make sure things are done correctly before moving on. Jeez. This is not working well. I don't want to end like this. Alright. Pretty darn close. I don't think there's a whole lot of modifications I need to do from this point on there. Just admire my progress as I strategically be as boring apparently as possible towards the stream. I'm really sorry. I shouldn't do that. Not used to it yet. We'll make some adjustments. But yeah. The thing that you commonly should do when as an artist is generally just kind of look back and see, plot out where you need to be putting your hands next, especially as a sculptor, I find. Because if you overwork certain areas, then it becomes a problem and you have to do a bunch of resculpting. And as much as I love sculpting, I don't want to make things more than once. That's where your huge time sink essentially comes into play, right? Is you're just kind of running a circle. I don't want to do that. And that's not fun for anything. So, yeah. I think it's probably time I actually called it quits before I sit here stumbling and thinking about what I'm going to be continuing doing. So, thanks everyone for joining this, live stream. I will be back on again, hopefully at an earlier time, because, yeah, life won't be in the way nearly as much, and the roads will be a lot clearer. So, thanks for joining in. I will see you guys next time. Thanks. Bye. Anyway, I should probably end with my slogan. I forgot about that last time. Anyway, that's enough from me. Till next time, take it easy. Yes, that was totally orthodox.